Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Saturday HOA Brunch, presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. Please sit back, relax, and join Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick for an hour of entertaining information about HOAs and HOA law.
Well, it's episode 10, the Saturday HOA Brunch, and I am excited to announce that Rick DeGrucio has stepped up in studio again. Epstein, he's up enjoying the feng shui of the Sierra Nevadas, and I think he said the craps tables are hot up at Tahoe, so he's not going to be able to make it with us today. Biana Barbu has some family in town. Rick, welcome back to the Saturday HOA Brunch.
Hey, Jonathan, thanks so much. Good to be here.
Excited about another call-up?
You know, I am. Last show, somebody told me, the name will be withheld, that I actually had a very good radio face. I don't know what that meant.
Yeah, that is weird. And, of course, we want to throw out there, what does the forecast look like it's going to be today?
It looks like it's clear and warm.
Yeah, it's going to be balmy.
Balmy.
Yeah, and so what we've been doing over the last 9 weeks is we've been trying to educate and enlighten. Whether you're a resident or a board member living in a homeowners association, we use this as an educational platform. We've had bankers, reserve study analysts. We always have an attorney in studio. We take phone calls. We have Frank Jolly in the back guiding this boat of amateur radio DJs.
And who's our guest today?
Today we brought another man of royalty in the HOA industry in Northern California. Welcome to the show, President of AMC, Mr. Brad Higgins. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Brad.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, we're excited, and definitely there's going to be some interesting discussion today with the wealth of knowledge that you have and the experience in the industry. Brad, why don't you just go ahead off the top, just why don't you give us a little bit of a background about your history in the homeowners association industry and talk a little bit about your company that you run, AMC.
Very good. Thank you. So I've been in the industry for over 25 years, 10 of them in Hawaii. But AMC has been in business for nearly 25 years as well. And we manage 60 associations in the surrounding 5 counties.
Wow. That's got to be a full plate.
It is.
Okay. Now, AMC, it's funny. It's ironic. I look out here. I see the Hilton, the fabulous Hilton, where we have many of our CAI luncheons, educational luncheons. And right to the left, there it is. There's the Langley of AMC, right? The headquarters.
Absolutely. We're a locally owned and operated company right here in Sacramento.
Great. Approximately, we were discussing a little bit before we got on the air. Things are growing. Things are good for AMC right now.
Absolutely. We've been doing quite well with the seminars that we put on every other month and educational opportunities for boards. It's been quite productive for us.
There's that key word, boards. boards. Okay, they run the day-to-day operations of a community association. So, with his second call-up to the Saturday HOA Brunch Big Leagues in studio, Rick, let's talk a little bit about the law today in regards to what happens when you want to become a board member, or what is the process of getting on the board of directors in a community association.
Would you want to get on a board? That's a good question.
Well,
Jonathan, we've got, they're not just guidelines, they're actually rules. And where do you think that comes from?
The DSA.
And that is?
Davis-Sterling Act?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got the Davis-Sterling Act that actually gives us specific regulations or laws on elections on how to get onto the board. And we're going to talk a little bit about elections and their the provision starting at 5100 in the Davis-Sterling Act gives us a starting point that notwithstanding any other law or provision of the governing documents, that there's certain elections that require secret ballot. What is a secret ballot?
Yeah, what's a secret ballot?
It's not just whispering. There are 4 specific issues that require use of a secret ballot. Those are elections of and removal of directors.
Okay.
As well as elections regarding assessments, when you're going to increase them when there's required vote, increase them by 20%, or even an assessment that's 5% of the budgeted gross expenses. Also, when there's an amendment to the governing documents, except for the rules, you need to have an election that requires secret ballot. And also the granting of exclusive use of common area. So if you're going to let somebody have exclusive use of the common area, you can't do that without a secret ballot.
Okay.
And it was important to know that the association's governing documents can also have other areas of the law, other areas that require secret ballots, but you got to have at least those 4 areas. Elections must be done by secret ballots.
Okay.
So if you don't have that in your governing documents, you want to make sure that you do abide by those.
Yeah, or update them. Right?
Update them, exactly.
Absolutely.
Also, there are certain rules, the operating rules, that more specifically election rules, that the governing documents that the Davis-Sterling Act indicates that you must have certain rules that comply with the Davis-Sterling Act. Okay, I'm fumbling on myself here.
Yeah, and Brad, since you're here, how often do you feel like you kind of have to rein the boards back in and make sure that all of the processes and procedures for elections are in place when an association is going to remove or replace a board member?
Oh, it's really important. Usually 3 months in advance of an annual meeting, we're already looking at an election inspector, sending out self-nomination forms. It's quite a process.
Right, and to clarify, none of the board members can use any of the reserve funds for a campaign in the community.
No, they can't. Absolutely not.
That's
right,
good.
and that's a rule that's important, that you can't use the funds for that, but also you've got to have equal access for everybody that's going to run for an election or for any other aspect that a member is trying to advocate. That there's got to be equal access, that it can't be just for those who advocate a certain position, but you've got to make it open to everybody, and also make it available if you're going to post it in the newsletter.
Mm-hmm. And anyone and everyone, as long as they fall into the guidelines of the governing documents, can run for the board of directors in a community association. Correct?
Well, there are stipulations.
There may
be requirements. Obviously, you have to be an owner of record. That's extremely important to verify before you put somebody on the ballot that's not even an owner.
Right, and those are issues clarifications that you're going to have, preferably in your election rules and also in your governing documents, that specify what are the qualifications required for candidates.
Yeah, do they have to have a master's degree of public administration, or some of the qualifications for these board members? You've probably seen everything from the journeyman plumber to the vice president of Oracle on a board, or of that nature,
and everything in between. So it's amazing. You get such a diversity of people that are running for boards of directors that have their ideas and thoughts of what they want to see happen in their association.
And we hope that the agenda is supposed to be the well-being of the community as a whole.
It is, but part of that goes back. We'll talk more about board trainings and what those expectations are a little bit later on the show.
I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so when we get back from the break, we're going to have more from our batter-up this week, Rick DeGrucio, the suit in studio, and we're going to hear more about AMC, and I believe we've got a couple of board members ready to play Battle of the Board Members, so we'll check in with them. We'll be back.
Thanks for being with us.
Hi, I'm Morgan Fussell. My company, Broadband Agreements, negotiates cable television and broadband right of entry, access, and compensation agreements for your communities. At Broadband Agreements, we offer a free review of all agreements with a signed letter of authorization. Broadband Agreements will improve your community's income and/or savings, or you don't pay us a dime. Visit us at broadbandagreements.com. That's broadbandagreements.com. Or call me, Morgan Fussell, directly at 916-939-5026. That's 916-939-5026. Broadband Agreements online at broadbandagreements.com or 916-939-5026.
Have you ever heard of the saying, a person's home is their castle? Of course you have. But sometimes a construction defect can turn your castle into a catastrophe. If this happens to you, you need proper and professional representation. You need Angius&Terry, LLP. For over 30 years, the attorneys at Angius&Terry have been effectively serving homeowners and community associations, recovering more than $500 million on behalf of their clients. Angius&Terry strives to ensure that your construction defect claims are prosecuted in an aggressive and cost-effective manner. Angius&Terry will also continue to work with homeowners and community associations after the construction defect claims are concluded to make sure that the money received from builders is spent wisely and that your interests are protected during the repair process. Don't let a construction defect turn your castle into a catastrophe. Call Angius&Terry LLP today at 916-567-1400. That's 916-567-1400. Online at angius-terry.com. Angius&Terry LLP.
It's Macy's lowest prices of the season with 60 to 85% savings throughout the store. Like clearance designer dress shirts and ties, $12.99. Take 60% off girls' dresses. Clearance impulse trends for her, $14.99. Save 40 to 75% when you take an extra 25% off designer handbag clearance. Plus clearance sheets, 70% off. Right now at Macy's lowest prices of the season. Savings off regular sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.
Find out what's happening on the Capital Christian High School stage for one weekend only. The Broadway musical Once Upon a Mattress, a hilarious adaptation of The Princess and the Pea. On April 17th and 18th, you will have 3 opportunities to see this entertaining cast perform this family fun musical. Come and see what makes Capital Christian's musical theater productions stand out as one of the finest in the area. For tickets and for more information, go to ccscougars.org. That's ccscougars.org.
This is AM 1380, The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry LLP. And now your hosts Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
Hey, we're back in studio. It's approximately 9:18. Back in studio here at the beautiful studios at AM 1380, The Answer.
It's balmy outside.
It's balmy outside. Rick DeGrucio's in studio. Epstein's up in Tahoe. He's
Where
up
it's
there.
not balmy.
Yeah, it's not balmy up there, but the feng shui is apparently amazing. Mr. Brad Higgins is here joining us. We just got done. We weren't done, but we're talking about the law regarding elections, and I wanted to bring up the spicy vocabulary that comes to mind is all these people want to know the secret ballot. What does that mean?
It's not just a whisper, Jonathan. Secret ballot is a specific term which requires that it's to protect the owner or the owners or the members' anonymity on their vote. And so what it requires is they mark their ballot for whatever option they're selecting, but they don't identify themselves on it. They don't put any signature or name on it. Then they insert that in an envelope. And on that envelope, they don't put any marking as to who it's from or what lot number or signature. Then they put that in another envelope, a second envelope, or the outer envelope. And on that, that's where they're required to put in the upper left-hand corner their name and their signature and their lot, so that when it gets turned into the inspector of elections, they don't know whose ballot that is. When they open that up and take out the inside ballot or the envelope, and they don't know who it's from.
Okay, so election rules. So I think this is like, I'm going to throw some lottery numbers out there and guess. Civil Code Section 5105.
Bing, bing, bing.
Bing, bing, bing. All right, I got it. So election rules, Rick, let's go ahead and let's briefly give the listenership and the 2 board members that we have holding on the line that are going to play head-to-head in the fourth quarter of our show, Robert and Dave. So we'll check in with them shortly. And actually, you know what? Let's see. Robert and Dave, are you guys out there?
Sure am.
Good morning. Who's that?
Well, it's not Robert or Dave.
Oh, it's
not.
Yeah,
this is Robert.
How's it?
Good morning, Robert.
How are you gentlemen doing?
Doing great, thanks.
Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us, and we are going to we're going to finish covering a little bit here regarding the law on election rules, and then Rick's also going to discuss a little bit of the law regarding inspector of elections. Mr. Brad Higgins going to kind of throw his toolbox of board member tools and information out there, and it'll be an educational experience, and then you two are going to duke it out head to head.
Let's get ready to rumble.
All right. Excellent. Good. Go ahead. The floor is back to you, Rick.
So anyway, talking about election rules, the election rules also need to specify, I think, indicated the qualification of the candidates and the qualifications of the the voters, such as whether or not proxies can be used. And it's not required, but it may indicate that nominations can be made from the floor, and that they also may permit write-in candidates.
Okay.
Now, Jonathan, do you think nominations should allow for self-nomination?
Ooh, I don't know. I guess it would depend on the importance of the position. I always like to think that I would get the vote if I wrote myself in, but...
Well, if you would say yes, that it's okay to have self-nomination,
then I'd be
you
right.
would be consistent.
All right.
Because the law actually says that the rules would be unreasonable if they did not allow that. So don't be unreasonable.
All right.
So then
makes sense.
The rules also indicate how an inspector of elections must be set up.
Okay, what is that? Inspector of elections, if somebody was just really wanted to get juicy in this topic and they had a Davis Sterling in front of them, where are they going? What civil code section is like... It's 5110?
5110.
All right.
For those who are keeping score, Jonathan's got another correct answer there.
Go ahead. 1 second. We have a gentleman that called in, Joe. Joe, you have a question for us, Joe? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Good morning, Joe.
Joe, go ahead.
Morning. So my question was, does an association need a director election if the number of candidates is the same as the number of open directorships?
I'm going to let the suit handle that one.
Well, that's a good question. And basically what you're saying is whether or not, or you're saying that there is not a contested election. Is that correct? Is he still on the line? Do we lose him?
Joe, are you there?
I'm still here, yes.
So if there are just one position and only one person running, that's a split in opinion as to whether or not there needs to be an election. And in my view, I think there should still be one, because if, for example, the rules allow for nomination from the floor, you might have somebody who says, "Hey, I want to nominate myself," and so then you need to go forward with that election. There's also a view that Civil Code 5100 requires it, but then there's also a view that it doesn't require it. So it's kind of a split. But that's a very good question because we don't all agree on that one. So.
Did that help you out, Joe?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Thanks for calling, Joe. Okay, back. Civil Code Section 5110, Inspector of Elections.
Back to that Inspector of Elections. That Inspector of Elections needs to be an independent person. And without what's the name I'm looking for? Unbiased person.
Oh, there you go. That probably seems like it would be significant.
Exactly. And you can have one or three. You want to have an odd number because that Inspector of Elections is going to make the decision as to whether or not the voting has occurred correctly. And so you don't want two, because then you can end up having two people saying yes and no and not have a decision.
Right. We don't want any controversy during elections for boards of directors and homeowners associations. Have you ever ran into that?
Never happens. Never happens.
Absolutely
No, they usually run smoothly. All the time. So the Inspector of Election, interesting that the Civil Code says that they can be one of three things: volunteer poll worker with the County Register of Voters, a licensee of the California Board of Accountancy, or a notary public.
All right.
Mr. Higgins, have you ever had any one of those?
Never seen one of those individuals at an annual meeting, and over 100 of them that I've conducted.
It's kind of interesting that they specify those three individuals. Who normally are your Inspector of Elections?
No, typically they come to us as the management company and ask if we'll do it. Or they ask a specific owner that doesn't have a conflict being the spouse of one of the people running.
Right, exactly. The law specifies that the Inspector of Election cannot be a director, a candidate, or a spouse of either of those two.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of funny. Okay, everyone, my husband, Bill the plumber's running for president. I just want to let everybody know that I'm going to be baking cookies and counting ballots over in my unit. So feel free. I'll let you know how the poll results come out. That would be a little bit of a conflict.
Exactly. And that's a good point, that the Inspector of Elections, again, they run the show. They make all the decisions about whether or not the procedure is being followed properly. They determine the number of votes, number of members that are actually able to vote. They determine the validity of the proxies. They receive the ballots, they count and tabulate the votes, and again, they make the final decisions if there are any questions. Now, when they're tabulating the votes, it's also important to know that because although it's a secret ballot, it's not done in secret. It's done in an open meeting, whether it's a board meeting or a membership meeting. And during the counting of those ballots, the candidates or any other member can be there present to watch.
Oh, that makes sense. That seems like it would be fair.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what we want it to be fair.
Right.
Then as the inspector of elections, you get to hold on to those ballots for 1 year.
1 year. They have to keep those.
And you know why that is?
I don't know.
No. Well, let me tell you, that's because that's the time period that somebody can object to the election and challenge the election. So
all right.
You got to keep that.
So you've got 1 year. 1 year to cause havoc in your community association if you're an upset member regarding the election.
Exactly.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Anything else, Rick, that you want to just cover in regards to becoming a board member in the process of board elections or inspectors of elections, or you feel pretty good that we've given a good chunk of information today?
Let me feed a couple of other tidbits because these might be helpful for those listeners or those board members who are going to be answering some questions.
Yeah, they're ready to rumble.
It's that the voting procedure that's set forth may allow for cumulative voting. If the governing documents, CC&Rs or the bylaws, usually it's in the bylaws, allow for cumulative voting, then it must be allowed.
Great.
And also, whenever the ballots are sent in, they are not to be opened by anyone except the inspector of elections not to be open until that meeting. So those are two important things, hint, that I hope you listen to.
Okay. So, Rick, you know what? A heck of a job stepping in last minute. I think, wouldn't you agree,
great
Brad
job.
Higgins, that this is informative, educational?
Absolutely.
There's no real fluff, and hopefully it's a little bit provocative. But
I have fluff in my ears.
There you go. So, Robert, Dave, do you guys have any questions real quick? Are you there, Robert and Dave? Hey, Frank. Robert and Dave, we're looking for him.
We're here? I'm here.
Are you guys there? Great. Hey, do you have any questions?
Did I put them to sleep?
No, not necessarily. Is there any particular questions that you would like to ask regarding elections that have happened in your communities or experience that you've had in regards to elections?
Well, this is Dave.
Hey, Dave.
One of the big issues that we had with elections were getting enough votes out. So we went through and changed the bylaws to allow just however many votes actually came in were good enough for the election. And that really made things much easier for us to do business.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And I would Brad, you would agree that sometimes governing documents must be revised so that the day-to-day operations in a homeowners association can move forward.
Absolutely, because it's hard to get a quorum in an annual meeting, and by reducing that quorum allows that board to conduct business.
Great. Okay, when we get back, we're going to get some insight and opinion from our guest, Mr. Brad Higgins, president of AMC. Frank Jolly's running down to Starbucks to get some lattes for everybody, and we're going to play Battle of the Board Members. We'll be back.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Police say a decorated Boston officer has been in a medically induced coma since he was shot in the face during a traffic stop last night. Meanwhile, the suspect was also shot by nearby officers, and Suffolk County District Attorney Dan Cooley says, yes, there will be an investigation.
Our job is to determine whether the officers acted with justification. We're not going to make that call today. We never do. We're going to do a completely thorough investigation.
Authorities say the officer who was shot, 34-year-old John Moynihan, was fired on just below his right eye when a suspect hopped out of the stopped car and opened fire. on police. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon weighing in on the latest tensions in the Middle East, in Yemen in particular. He says the only way to prevent a long-term conflict there is through negotiation. The UN chief made the comments today at the opening session of an Arab summit held in Egypt's Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. This is SRN News.
This is your RAM Auto Update with Newton Carruthers.
25 years ago today, it was just an idea. Today, a wild success. The Roseville Auto Mall's 25-year celebration sale. 25 days of incredible savings. Just take a test drive and win $25,000. Every dealer, every car, every minute of every day priced to celebrate. This only happens every 25 years. A sale like this is not to be missed. That rhymes. The Roseville Auto Mall, driven to be the best.
See dealer for contest rules and details.
Once upon a time, there was a nice house that lived with a family. The house loved the family and took care of them. One day, it started to rain and rain. The house wanted to protect the family, but the water got inside and ruined everybody's everythings. The house was so sad, but the family didn't think it could happen. They told the house that they would take better care of her, always.
Protect what matters. Learn more about your flood risk at floodsmart.gov/care.
News, opinion, insight. AM 1380. The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380. The Answer.
Hey, good morning. This is Rick DeGruccio filling in for Brad Epstein, sitting here with Jonathan Broderick, and we've got Brad Higgins as our guest. We just covered the HOA rules, or the laws regarding elections. A lot of information.
It was a brief outline.
It was a brief outline, but there's so much to talk about that. But we don't want to belabor that point. We want to get into discussions with Brad Higgins here and talk about boards and his experience with boards.
Great. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Well, now that they've been elected to the board, now what do? Generally, they have no idea of what their job description is. What's the president? What's a vice president, secretary, treasurer? What's that member at large supposed to do? It's extremely important right after an annual meeting that the board get together, have the opportunity for a board training in which they discuss their job descriptions and their roles as board members. So extremely important. Put that on your agenda, board members. Definitely a must item. Because along with that, you're talking about agendas then. How do you formulate your agendas for the upcoming meetings? That's always a bone of contention and confusion, but that's that board president's responsibility to put that agenda together with the input of his other board members and then conduct an efficient meeting. And
efficiency.
The efficiency is the word.
Now, Brad, do you help them in formulating that agenda?
Absolutely. So AMC conducts board trainings with their associations after their annual meetings or when we bring on new clients, just to get them off to a good start by knowing what their jobs are.
So we've briefly touched on this while we were talking about the election rules and some of the inspector of elections civil code sections. So a lot of times boards, because they're made up of volunteers. We all know that board members that try to enhance the curb appeal of their communities and keep a higher quality of life in homeowners associations. These volunteers, they don't get paid, and they all come from different backgrounds. And they all got a little bit of a different demand in their own life. So they're a little bit unorganized. What can you do to get the board in the gym? Pump some iron, right? Getting them in shape.
So that first thing that we talked about, first of all, getting them together for a board training is extremely important. At that point, they're determining what their goals are, what's going to be the ensuing goals for the year. And they need to take a look at their budget, their finance, determine what those goals are. They need to set examples for the rest of the members. Sometimes you have those board members come in and they're allowing their dog to still run loose in the community, or they have their RV parked in the back and doesn't set an example for the rest of the owners to follow.
They don't have their cats on leashes, right?
No, and then you become a board member and you've got a target on your chest and everybody's looking at you to set the example. So we talk about setting the example as a board member and what that looks like.
Are the actions speak louder than words?
Boy, absolutely. When they come to board meetings, if those actions aren't proactive to address some of those issues, words won't count.
Question for you. a new board is elected in an association that maybe has been going through a couple of hurdles, jumping some hurdles, had a curvy road, the path has been a little bit rough in previous years past. Longest board meeting that you've ever attended, because the agenda might not have been up to par.
Right. If those board meetings are going 3 and 4 hours, you can tell it looks like a mom and pop business instead of a multi-million-dollar not-for-profit corporation that these boards are trying to run. Mm-hmm. It should be run within an hour. It's doable. It's feasible. When I tell them that, they go into shock. An hour board meeting? I thought we're supposed to be 3 and 4 hours, Brad.
Yeah, that would be a large portion of your tenure on a board of directors.
Thank you. And nobody wants to sit there and run for a board that they have to spend 4 hours at. Now,
so most of these people are coming home from work after working a long day.
Thank you.
And who wants to come and sit in a board meeting that's going to take, that they're generally after hours, sit there for another 3 hours?
And that's important, not to put so much on their plate that they can't complete it in an hour instead of overwhelming them with 2 to 3 hours worth of work.
Okay, so I know that you have this little top 5 secret list of motivational tools for your homeowners association boards.
Different than a secret ballot, though.
Yeah, it's different than a secret ballot. Yes. I want you to highlight and go into detail of the 5 Brad Higgins secrets to motivate your board.
Ooh, sounds pretty exciting.
It sounds exciting.
Ooh, I'm listening.
Yeah, spicy.
Let's see, 5 of them. Huh? Okay, well, let's start with setting that example. So setting that example as a leader on a board is extremely important.
Leadership.
So leadership, it starts from the top down. That president is going to dictate how efficient, how well run that board of directors, that perception of quality of life out there in the community is going to be determined by the leadership that he or she exhibits.
And that, as a manager, you help them understand what that leadership is.
Absolutely. By them understanding what their job descriptions are, helps them to be better leaders by setting goals, by being well educated, by coming to seminars, whether it's through AMC or put on by Angius&Terry. Extremely important.
There's a lot of what a lot of people don't know is there are a handful of great organizations in California that support the Homeowners Association. There's a ton of them nationwide. There's even some international chapters with like the Community Associations Institute, companies like yourself. If you want more information in regards to what goes on in your homeowners association, it's out there. It's like a child going to school and they have a project. They got to go to the library and they need to get a book and read it.
There you go.
There's information, there's tools out there. If you want to trust Google, go for it, but you never know what you're going to find on the internet.
That's true, but AMC is always here. If you give us a call, we can set up a time to meet with you, conduct board trainings at no cost to your association, and set you on the right track.
Number 2
is establishing the purpose of your board of directors. Is that indeed to enhance, maintain, repair your homeowners association, or is it increasing your dues? Boards come with different ideas, different thoughts, but the purpose overall is not only to increase the value of the homes, but to increase the perception of quality of life within that homeowners association.
Absolutely, right. Absolutely. Number 3.
Well, let me back up there real quick.
Go ahead,
for the purpose. Is the purpose for a board member to be the worker bee?
Not at all. Those board members are to set policy and decision and allow their managers to carry them out on their behalf. It's not to be involved in the day-to-day operations. Allow your manager to do that job, what you've paid them to do.
How often are you seeing that board members are burnt out because they've been basically being that worker bee?
I have, just in the last 2 weeks, I've probably had 8 different associations come to me that are self-managed, and they're burnt out and tired of doing all the work, and they're looking for a management company to interact on their behalf.
Exactly. So not as much on their plate by giving it to a management company.
Exactly, and spread the cost around to all the owners instead of the 2 or 3 that are doing it on behalf of the 100.
Okay, back to the top 5 secrets. 1, leadership. 2, purpose. Number 3, Mr. Higgins?
Would be the challenge. The challenge is to present yourselves in a professional manner. And in order to do that, you have to have professional management to give you the examples and set the recommendations for you to run your multi-million-dollar business.
Okay, number 4.
Friendship. I always say, don't be an adversary with your neighbors. I don't want you to be in adversarial conflict with your neighbors. Management wears white hats, they wear black hats, but the job of the board is not to be in a confrontational relationship with the members.
And go ahead, Rick.
I often hear that as a member of the board, if somebody's in violation of the governing documents, they don't like to have to tell their neighbor that, hey, you're in violation here. So that's the beauty of having a management company.
Right.
For those who are self-managed, you might want to think about that.
Absolutely.
Give that black hat to Brad.
Okay. I wear it well.
Okay, so number 5 on the list
is rewards. It's the gratification for boards. It's actually a very interesting job to sit on a board, to have knowledge of financial information, for balance sheets, to profit and loss statements, understanding how to conduct a meeting according to Robert's Rules of Order, understanding how to run a multi-million-dollar business. It's actually very rewarding in that aspect, and it's a motivator in terms of providing a service to your homeowners.
Okay, we are getting close to going to break. Robert and Dave, are you guys ready to rumble when we get back?
Yeah. I think we
You think you guys will be able to duke it out? Okay, $100 gift card for first, $50 gift card for second place.
Sacrifice.
When we get back from break, fourth quarter, Battle of the Board Members, Royal Rumble.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
The challenges presented by today's economy and rebounding housing market is forcing many homeowners association boards of directors to operate their HOAs more like a business. It's a balancing act of trying to stay solvent and still provide homeowners with quality amenities and services. One of the main challenges HOA boards are facing is attempting to recover unpaid HOA fees owed by delinquent homeowners. Collection efforts are often very time-consuming. If you want to get the HOA fees collection monkey off of your back, call ATC Assessment Collection Group. ATC is an attorney-supervised collection company providing collection and foreclosure services to HOAs in both California and Nevada's most recognizable communities. Get back to what you actually volunteered to do as an HOA board member. Effectively oversee your community. Call ATC today at 916-641-1410. That's 916-641-1410. Online at atcacg.com. That's atcacg.com. ATC Assessment Collection Group.
If your community association has a good relationship with their current management company, you can stop listening. However, if you are struggling with your current service provider, we'd love to talk with you to see if Omni Community Management would be a good fit. Transparency, education, communication, and trust are just 4 of the qualities that set Omni apart. This is Rolf Crocker, CEO of Omni. Call us at 916-965-8964. That's 916-965-8964. Online at omni-mgt.com. That's omni-mgt.com. Omni Community Management, your friend in the community management association industry for over 20 years.
AM 1380. The Answer.
You're listening to the Saturday HOA Brunch presented by Angius&Terry, LLP. And now your hosts, Brad Epstein and Jonathan Broderick on AM 1380, The Answer.
Back from break, Mr. Brad Higgins, president of AMC, gave us 5 effective tools to help with boards of directors in community associations. Great jobs. Dave and Robert are on the line. Here's the rules. Dave, you're going to go first. Rick will be asking you 3 questions. Answer true or false. If you would like for him to repeat the question, please say repeat.
Repeat the question.
That's
Okay.
a good question.
Great. So, Dave, you are first. Rick, questions.
Are we ready? Here we go. In an election, votes are to be counted in secret.
False.
The inspector of elections may determine the validity of proxies.
True.
Okay. And the last one, a secret ballot must be used for any election carried out by an HOA.
True.
Oh, got that one wrong. 2 out of 3.
First two
Okay.
correct.
I'm rooting for my buddy Robert. Robert, are you ready for your 3 questions?
I'm ready.
All right, here's the first question. An association may select 1 or 3 inspectors of election.
Please repeat that.
An association may select 1 or 3 inspectors of election.
True.
Got it. An association is not required to adopt election rules. True or false, Robert?
False.
Got it. Secret balloting is required for election of directors.
False.
2 out of 3. We are tied, Rick. Second round of questions
Did I not do
for...
a good enough job?
No,
Okay.
second round of questions
Okay,
for
here
Dave.
we go. Here we go, Dave. Associations must provide equal access to association media or newsletters to opposing candidates.
True.
Got it.
The inspector of elections may not determine the results of an election.
Who's that for?
This is for Dave.
Determine the result?
Correct. The inspector of elections may not determine or tabulate the results of an election.
False.
Got it.
Okay, an association may allow cumulative voting. Let me correct this. This is a bad question. The association must allow cumulative voting if the governing documents require it.
True. False.
Dave?
We had Dave?
False. False.
False.
Okay, so 4 out of 6 after 2 rounds. Are you ready to go, Robert? Second round of questions.
I am.
No one person may open the ballots before the designated time for counting and tabulating ballots.
True.
The ballots may be thrown away as soon as they are counted.
False.
Election rules must specify the qualifications for candidates for the board.
True.
5 out of 6. So we do have a whole pony in the lead going into the lightning round. So here we are. In the lightning round, we have Robert with 5 out of 6, and we have Dave, who's closely battling in second on this Royal Rumble, as he referred to it, with 4 out of 6 questions. So here's the rules for the lightning round. You're going to go first, Dave. Rick's going to ask you 5 true or false questions. This is going to happen all in 30 seconds. We cannot repeat the question. Answer true or false. Are you ready to go, Dave? I've got 30 seconds on the clock.
Okay, give us a true or false. Associations must allow equal access to common area meeting places to all candidates in an election.
True.
The inspector of elections may not hear challenges regarding the right to vote.
True.
False.
Go ahead, Rick.
Ballot material must be delivered to the members at least 30 days before voting deadline.
True.
When casting a secret ballot, the outside or second envelope is addressed to the inspector of elections.
False.
Go ahead, Rick.
In an election to approve an amendment of the CC&Rs, the text of the amendment must be sent to the members.
True.
3 out of 5, 7 out of 11. So, with the lead going into his lightning round, Robert, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Robert, here you go. 30 seconds on the clock. True or false? The inspector of elections may be a member, but not a director.
False.
Secret balloting is required for the adoption of new rules.
False.
Election rules must specify qualifications for voting.
True.
A secret ballot must be signed by the voter.
True.
An election may never be conducted entirely by mail.
False.
Got it. Well, hey, guys, I just want to say thanks for playing, and our winner this week in Battle of the Board Members / Royal Rumble is Robert. So congratulations,
Robert.
We'll be in touch. I'll get a nice gift card out to you. I'm thinking maybe like Sutter Street Steakhouse. And Dave, we want to thank you for your time and listening, and we'll get a gift card out to you. I'm thinking maybe I don't know, what's a good restaurant out in your area that you'd like a gift certificate to, Dave?
Maybe Laboo or something like that.
There you go. Laboo it is. We will talk next week, gentlemen. We hope that you learned something. We really appreciate you duking it out today, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, have a good one. Man, so, Rick, I mean, these questions, they weren't the easiest questions.
No, they're not the easiest. That's why elections can be tricky. So that's why it's important to have a well-educated board, have a good management company, and have your inspector of elections understand what he or she is doing.
Right, and I mean we had a great discussion regarding the law today. We've had some insights from an industry expert, President Brad Higgins of AMC.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That I think he would agree that the associations out there might need some direction, or they might need a little bit more assistance. And I think you'd agree that there's multiple management companies out there. You very humbly have said that there's probably associations that fit better with different management companies. You said that before we went on the show today.
Absolutely. Not all associations fit well with management companies, different philosophies and styles. But here at AMC, we try to merge the needs of those associations with our philosophy and be willing to assist you. Give us a call at 565-8080. Be glad to be of assistance to you.
That's great. Did you want to repeat that one more time, the number?
Again, our number is 565-8080. And again, my name is Brad Higgins with AMC.
And that's area code 916.
It is, gentlemen.
Rick, I want to ask you, you've got the short sleeve on, the blue jeans. What do you have exciting to do this weekend? I know that you previously were on a board of directors in your association, so now that you're not, necessarily involved in all of those duties, what are you going, abalone diving, spearfishing?
Hold on, I'm putting my tie back on.
Yeah, okay. So,
unfortunately, it's not abalone season, so actually, my wife and I, we just celebrated our 26th anniversary.
26 years.
Congratulations.
So we're
taking all 7 kids out with the wife?
Probably so, but we're going to try to get away for the weekend.
That'll be exciting. Mr. Higgins, any exciting plans for you as you step away from the reins of AMC for a brief, short period of time to enjoy some of this balmy weather?
My wife of 30 years would like to see me at home this afternoon, so I'll be heading home shortly.
Is that a honey-do
Good
list?
answer.
Yes,
Good
it
answer.
is.
Oh, man. So she actually helped you put the agenda together this weekend.
Definitely.
Man, it amazes me. Well,
John, what's in store for you?
In store for me, I think after this, I'm headed over to the M&S Racing Engine Speed Shop. We're getting ready I'm part of a great group of guys. We have a sprint car team. We're going to start putting the car together. And yeah, Maxwell's over there right now. The tail wags the dog. He's getting that car together. So I'll probably go over there and with the guys, and we're going to see if we can get this thing all 4 wheels on it.
Angius&Terry sponsored that sprint car
They
last
do
year.
We're
doing it again this year.
Again this year, along with Dutch Brothers. So that's going to be exciting.
Good. My thanks to Angius&Terry as well for conducting a seminar at AMC. Brad did a great job as usual. Appreciate you guys and your availability.
We did. We appreciate the invite. So we've got some exciting things coming up in the industry in regards. We have a legislative day at the Capitol.
That's right on the corner.
Have you been to that, Brad, before?
I haven't. I have other associates that have, but it's important to know what those new laws are and be a part of the formation of those. So I would encourage people to attend that.
And engage, right, a little bit?
Absolutely. You get to talk with your legislator. Find out what's going on in their minds as they formulate new laws on behalf of HOAs.
Yeah, and there's some really hot bills this year that we're actually, that weekend, we're fortunate enough, Community Associations Institute lobbyist Skip Dom is going to be in studio. So he's going to join us, and he's up there, he's down there at the state capitol on a weekly basis.
Exactly.
And
great man. Good opportunity to talk and pick his brain.
Absolutely. We need to thank all of our sponsors for the show. Of course, Angius&Terry LLP, ATC, Assessment Collection Group, Omni Community Management.
We've got some new ones, don't we?
Broadband, Solutions, Morgan Fussell. He was down here this week, and we're excited to have him on board. He's going to be also a guest on the show soon. And then, of course, like we said, Rolf Crocker with Omni Community Management. He was a guest on our show previously. He's on board. We can't be...
just heard his voice, did we not?
We did. We're so grateful that there's so many great people that are involved in our industry, and they like to come like you, Mr. Higgins, and educate and enlighten a little bit.
Thanks for having me here this morning, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Great.
Especially grateful for all you listeners.
Next week, security in your association. You see it all the time on the news, these tragedies.